In this video, I'm going to give you a very basic introduction to Blender by making a 3D mesh chair. Blender is an extremely powerful application, and it will do way more than what I'm about to show you. And there are a lot of tutorials out there. If there's something you think you might want to try in Blender, Google it or search for it on YouTube. The best way to learn how to do anything with 3D modeling, from what I've seen, is to find a tutorial and then follow along and do exactly what they do. So that's what you should do now. You should download Blender. Hopefully you already have it if you're watching this video. And you should do exactly what I do. Now this is actually just the startup screen. There are a lot of settings and buttons and things that you will not need. That is actually true with most 3D modeling. There are a lot of settings and buttons that are useful only for animation. And I will talk about the tools I use as I use them, but it's best to just learn about what you need as you need it, from my experience. And I also have a little indicator in the corner here that will show what buttons I'm pressing when I press them. What you see right now is a basic cube that appears. This is a mesh cube. You can add mesh objects by clicking here, your mesh, and it's how you probably get most of your pieces of something. It's what you start with most of the time. We are actually just going to use cubes, and I'll show you how to add cubes. I will end up using about 6, I think, total. What you see here is a flat plane, and the red line indicates the x-axis, the green line indicates the y-axis, and the blue arrow is, and the blue line is the z-axis. You can move the object on those axes by just clicking on the arrows and moving. You can change your view by holding down the middle mouse button and moving the mouse left, right, up, and down. You can see a couple of things floating in the sky here, or floating in the middle space. This is a light effect, and this is a camera. Neither of these things are things that we need in this tutorial, but they appear whenever it first starts. The way you select an object or one of these things is by right-clicking on it. If you want to switch between, just move, also if you select the object and press G, it's grab, and you can move it however you want. That can be a little bit tricky if you want to be precise. If you press G, Z, you can move it in just the Z-axis, G, Y, just the Y-axis, and G, X, the same thing. What I need to do, though, is I need to make this flat. This will become the seat of my chair. And the first thing I will do is go into edit mode, which I come down here to the object mode, and there are different modes. Some of them you can use when making things for Second Life. If you're going to make more fine adjustments to an object, you might want to do sculpt mode. That's literally adjusting the object in a more, as if you're chiseling or sculpting in clay. There are a lot of options in that. We won't need that right now either, but we will basically be probably going between edit and object mode, mostly in edit mode. Edit mode gives us access to, oops, if you grab it on accident and then you want to cancel where you're going to put it, it doesn't complete where you're putting the movement until you hit the left mouse button again. I hit the right mouse, or hit G, and then I was moving it around on accident. And if I hit escape, it goes back to where it was originally. It cancels out the action. But down here, you should note that we're currently on vertex select. So the little points are vertices. You will have to select vertices or edges. This now is selected on edges, or faces at different times. And you can see how that selects the different faces. Right now we actually do want it to be on faces, and if I hit grab, I can move this face around. Hit escape again to put it back where it was. Hit grab Z, and I can flatten the whole thing so that it's now a cushion. Now if I want to add legs, which is my next step, I'm going to bring this up. Hit escape. I actually want to select the entire thing. So the best way of doing that is while part of it is selected, hit L, and it selects the whole thing. It selects linked. So then I hit grab Z, and it just raises up. And then I right-click out. If you press A, right-clicking doesn't do anything. If you press A, you can either select all or unselect all, which is what I just did. Now I want to add cubes to go in the corners. Go up to Add, Mesh, Cube. Of course, it's way too big. So I move my mouse away from it to make it easier to manipulate. Press S for size, and if I don't press a particular axis, it will size the whole thing altogether. So what I mean by that, of course, is that if I hit escape and I press S, X, it will only resize it on the x-axis, and same for y and z. But if I just press S and move the mouse towards the center, it'll get smaller. When I left click, it ends the resizing. There are also, on the keypad, there are buttons to flip to a certain view. So I press 7, it goes here, I mean that's 1, as you can see. Press 7 and that goes to the top. So I will select an L to grab this, to move it on the y-axis, just put it in the center of my screen. Then I want to take this, press L to grab all of it, and I hit just G because I'm not sure exactly how it lines up. And then I move the view until I see this. Now if I press G, Z, I'll move it up, and I just arrange it so it is just touching. If I want to make sure that it's, looks connected, press, oops, that gives you a wireframe. I'm going to do grab Z and sink it in just a little bit, just to make sure that it's actually looks like it's attached. And now what I'll do is I will select just the top face, grab Z, and this will make it go up. So I'm actually also, by the way, I should probably make this leg underneath it. So I select and press L, select all of it, grab Z, and just sink it down this way. And now I can, it doesn't, technically it wouldn't really matter since top and bottom is the same at the moment, but it's just easier to deal with if I assume that up is actually the top and I don't have to flip anything around later. So grab Z and just sink it back into the chair just a little bit. And now press A to unselect everything. And I'll grab that bottom face again, grab Z, pull it back out. I'll make it more of a stool than a small chair. The proportions, we'll see how it turns out. And now, if I want to just not have to go through that effort again, the easiest thing to do is to select the linked parts there, so I've got that whole leg, and now I press Shift D for duplicate, and then I can just press one of the axes. So if I would say Y, I can just move it on the Y-axis and arrange it thusly. Of course, since this is a quick tutorial, it may not be as exact as it could be. There are other ways to be a little bit more precise. There are ways to mirror something, so you only have to do half at a time, which can be a good way of doing a lot of things. One of the tutorials I will link to on my website is going to be a couch tutorial, which will show you a lot of how to do that. But for now, I'm just going to make it very simple, very easy. So now these two legs are exactly the same because I just duplicated the one. Now if I press Shift and select, it will select something in addition to what's already selected. And if I press L again, it will select all of the linked parts to that object. And now, if I press Shift D, I can duplicate both legs at once and press X to move the duplicates on the X-axis. So now they are they're all the same height, so they're all into the base of the chair the same amount, and they're all the same length, same height, I guess, down. They're positioned the same height, and the sort of length of the leg is the same, all four. So that's the easy way to make sure that it's all exactly the same. That does look like it might be a little bit off. It may not be even. Like it looks like the legs on the left might be a little farther to the left, and the legs on the right are to the right. But like I said, this is just a quick tutorial, so it's not really a problem. And now I need to do one more thing to make a very basic chair. Picture if you were making this out of wood. This is going to be an object that you could theoretically sit on. Not necessarily an object you'd want to sell in a store or anything like that. It won't look that pretty, but this will be an object you could then technically import to Second Life or export into a format that a 3D printer could print. So now I go to Add Mesh again, make another cube, poof, and now what I will do is I will just select that face, grab Y, and flatten it to be a back. And now I will grab, cancel, select length, grab X, move it more even with the chair, grab Y, move it into the chair. Now this is a good way just to make sure you've got it positioned correctly. And because I'm using the same, all I did was flatten one side, so I happen to know that this makes it easy to keep the other sides are all the same. So the width of the back is already the same width as the chair seat. Grab Z, bring it up, and you have what looks like a very basic chair. I will actually then go ahead and save Blender file. I'll just save it as example chair 1. And that concludes our very, very basic tutorial. If you have questions, please contact me, leave a comment. And I've gone over, also if you want to see what it looks like now in object mode, you can go back to object mode, and this is what it looks like without looking at the edges and vertices and faces. Of course, it looks fairly plain. If you were to put a texture on it, you could make it look like wood or something like that, and that's really for Second Life. You could print it just like this and have a little miniature chair that you could put a doll on or something like that. Anyway, this concludes the tutorial. Have a great day.